Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Emma and today I'm going to be sharing with you some things I wish I had known before playing the brand new cozy witchy life and farming sim, A Garden Witch Life. This game released on Switch, PC, PlayStation and Xbox on the 12th of September and I started my journey off on stream, and since then I've played a good few hours and learned a few things, so I thought it was only fair that I shared them with you. Don't forget to like and also subscribe for more cozy games, but here is the important stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about is your house, because it took me a little bit of time to figure out what is exactly going on here. When you first arrive in your new treehouse, you will discover that you have a few key things that will become important. These are obviously your bed for resting, your cauldron, and your chopping board for cooking, and there is also a DIY workbench. Around your house, you will notice that there is like ruins and overgrown vines, and it actually took me a little while to figure out what I was supposed to do to clean these up and how exactly to do that. The obvious thing is your tools, and that is what you will need, and your axe will be used to chop the vines and the wood items, and your pickaxe for the ruined pots. If you clear away the ruins in front of the door on the steps, it will open up another room, and in this hidden room is a special mirror which allows you to change your character customization, so you don't have to worry if your character doesn't look the way you wanted it to in the first place, or you decide you want to change it up later. You can do that at this mirror. There is also the potential for further expansions of the treehouse, but I didn't get that far just yet. I'm thinking that you're going to need a higher level of tools to do that, which of course you can get from tin. But so far the treehouse does give you a nice amount of space, and you can kind of move things around really easily with your hammer. So I would say the house is a really good place. You definitely have the potential to start your own little base, make it nice and cozy in here. The next thing I highly recommend you doing is having a run around the main town to get your bearings of where everything and everyone is. The town area isn't all that big, so it won't take you too long to get adjusted, but the main reason I suggest this is because even though there is a map in the game and it's very pretty and it also shows you where all the NPCs are in the game, it isn't actually great for helping you navigate around. I don't think it's as detailed as it could be, and there's something about it which just made me kind of hard to figure out what was what exactly. I don't know why. Maybe it's the style of the map that I had a little bit of difficulty with, but getting your own bearings and kind of understanding where everything is will definitely help you out. It is also worthwhile exploring your farm. It took me a little bit of time to realize that there are actually areas off of your main farm that you can access. I think the wheat definitely helps hide these areas, so step beyond your kind of main house and explore beyond that. And here you'll find different areas such as the swamp, a little mining section, and it took me a lot longer to find this hill section too. These are quite important areas as you'll find lots of different forageable items that can be used as ingredients, resources, and there's even some cute frogs to pet. Once you've cleaned up your house and explored a bit, farming is the next natural thing to try, and the farming mechanics are a little bit different in this game. I'm used to tilling the ground and having neat rows of plants, but you have a lot more freedom of placement in this game, and I soon learned that you can place the seeds willy-nilly on the ground and then it becomes a whole mess. I'd learned that if you speak to Lily and you check her shop, you will find the recipe for raised planters. These raised planters help keep all of your crops organized and neat, and you can plant multiple seeds in them, making things a little bit easier to navigate and organize. You will also need this recipe to craft the compost bin, which I don't think the game made clear at all, so make sure you're checking the shops for recipes. Another thing I noticed when placing down seeds for the first time is that they come with this kind of circular area around them, and I didn't fully understand what this was when I first placed it, but if you head over to your journal, there is a more comprehensive explanation about this mechanic. Essentially, the circle is kind of an area of influence, and some plants can work together and some will kind of conflict and others are just okay to coexist. You will notice that you unlock more tutorials as you go along, and I think this is kind of a substitute for overly heavy explanations in the game so that you can refer back to it when you need it. I do recommend reading these before you kind of go off on your own, because it will make things a lot clearer. If you are worried about keeping your plants neat together and forgetting what was planted where, as you progress in the game, you will unlock the magic lens, and this is a really helpful tool that will tell you everything you need to know about your crops, when they can be planted, kind of their health, and what kind of progress they are at. So I definitely highly recommend using these tools, and you can examine other things with it as well. So it does become kind of a vital tool that you need to have in your hotbar. One of the bonuses about this game is that you are not actually confined to being in bed at a certain time. However, there are still things you need to be mindful of when it comes to managing your energy and stamina, otherwise you will find yourself napping in the middle of town. Yes, I did it a few times. So in total, there are 5 bars, which can be a little bit daunting when you first kind of open the game. These are the health, mental energy, stamina, food, and fatigue. In the beginning, I found keeping on top of my stamina and fatigue was the most important, so I did kind of push the other bars to the back of my mind. Your stamina will decrease as you do tasks in the world, whereas your fatigue will slowly start to fall no matter what you are doing. This is a little bit different from other games, so it might just take a little while to get used to. If your fatigue bar, which is the purple bar on the right hand side, fills, you will automatically be transported back to your bed and you will awake the next day with a reduced energy amount. Your bed appears to be the only thing that will replenish your purple fatigue bar, but some cooked food can actually help refill your stamina and health bars, so it's worth checking your recipes for when these start to get a little bit low. Another thing that I found exciting about this game is that throughout the world you will find chests hidden, and you should interact with these and open them, as you may find new recipes, furniture, seeds, and just other goodies. Some of these are in hidden locations and some of them are far more obvious to find, so I really highly recommend keeping your eyes peeled for them. If there's a door and you can go inside, double check that there's not a chest hidden in there. I really love this feature as it does incentivize exploration and you do get excited for what you might find in the chest. Another thing that everyone wants to know about when they start a new game is obviously the best way to make money, and in this game you do get a pretty clear explanation from May about the way that the shipping system works. You have 2 options: the Magibuy, which gives you instant cash but you get significantly less money for your items, or the community box, where although items take longer to sell, you do get more money for your items and you get the money the next day. I definitely preferred using the community box. I found that I made pretty good money from clearing out the crystal wheat and selling that, as I could not really find a use for it. Your crops such as tomatoes will also make relatively good money, but you do seem to get a lot more if you do cook with the items. There are a lot of upgrades and purchasable items in the game, so think about saving your money and think about making purchases wisely, as once I had kind of sold all of that wheat that I could get with the lower level sickle, it was hard to kind of keep that money coming in, so definitely be smart with your purchases. Aside from farming and exploring, another key activity in this game is cooking, and I have a few things to say about this, as on the surface it looks pretty simple and the actual minigame is very straightforward, but as you dig deeper it does get a little bit more complex. As I said earlier, when you move into your home you are given a cauldron and a chopping board, and these do allow you to do a lot of the recipes you have early on, but you soon find that as you unlock more recipes they do not necessarily appear here. You are able to use May's oven, and in fact you can actually get free ingredients from her fridge and storage once a day, which if you wanted to you could make a cake or use them to put towards another recipe, and you can actually chop up that cake to use as free food, sell, or gift it. But the thing that definitely was less obvious to me is that you can actually craft a plate from your DIY bench, which you must then place and then use this as a cooking tool also. There is also a craftable food bowl which can be placed and used as food storage or decor. I don't think these things were explained to me very early on, they were just kind of found through playing. And when cooking, you may also be required to use multiple stations to complete a whole recipe. So you may find yourself having to use a cutting board and then go and use a plate, or go and use a cauldron. And at times I actually did find myself running back and forth to May's Cafe to use the oven. But despite that, it is pretty straightforward. There is no kind of time element to rush you, and the food doesn't spoil, so that is one good side about it. But keeping track of the different recipes and things, you can look in your journal and it does actually tell you what crafting station is required. But over time you will find that you need to unlock more cooking stations, and you can purchase them at the general store, but beware, they are a little pricey, so think about, again, like I said, sensible purchases. Inventory and storage is another key thing in farming and life sim games, and I often quickly find myself drowning in items. The personal inventory space in this game is huge, and honestly I could have spent a good time foraging and picking up items before I even needed to think about crafting a chest. There doesn't appear to be a way to expand upon your personal inventory, so I am glad it's of a good size. And again, I did find myself thinking there isn't really a clear guide on how the storage system works, but it is quite straightforward in the sense that you can just craft chests from your DIY workbench using wood planks that are quite easy to come by. And I decided to start off small. I made 3 chests which I used to organize things from, and this did kind of sustain me for a good amount of time. I didn't find my chests like overwhelming or having so many items I couldn't fit them all in one, so I think that is kind of a good starter point. One important thing to note is that to craft, you must have the items in your inventory. The game will not pull items from your chest, which is a little bit annoying and something that I've definitely become accustomed to. But overall, the inventory storage system is quite straightforward, and it, if not a little basic, but is pretty good. It does the job. There are a total of 9 NPCs in the game, and they each have their own unique personalities and place within the town. Some have roles such as a doctor or librarian, but each have their own likes and dislikes. One way to learn more about the villagers and what they may like is by looking at the journal pages. Some definitely tell you a lot more about the individuals than others, but this can definitely act as a good guide for what gifts they may want to receive. It does appear that you cannot really have daily conversations as you might expect from a life sim game, but increasing the friendship levels is largely done through gifting. From my testing so far, a positive gift can give you a plus 10 friendship. An okay gift does not seem to improve the level, but if they do not like the gift, that can actually deduct friendship points. One of the downsides of this system is that there's not really a way to see the past gift you've given and what their reaction was, so you kind of have to do your best to remember or write it down if you're very organized like that. And the final thing I want to talk about is freedom. I've touched on this here and there, but it is a pretty common theme throughout this game. If you're a person who preferred structured quests and for them to flow, then you might have a little bit of difficulty with this game. I did find myself on a few occasions wondering what to do next. Some of the NPCs hint at something you need to do, but there's no clear quest trigger, which is a little bit frustrating, and it did leave me feeling a little bit lost at times, and I wondered if I was the one that was doing something wrong. But I just wanted you to know that if you're feeling lost, I think that's the game, and that's how it is intended to be. It's not you making an error. On the flip side of this, it does give you kind of a relaxing, laid-back vibe if you kind of accept the fact that being lost is part of the game, which does allow you to enjoy the surroundings in the game as you see fit. If you want to farm, cook, or explore, you can kind of choose how you want to prioritize your gameplay, which is nice. And it is kind of in keeping with the whole kind of coziness, wholesome vibe of the game. So laid back approach to gaming definitely in this one. So there we have it. There are some useful things to know about Garden Witch Life. I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe this helped make your mind up whether you want to play the game. If you are playing the game, feel free to share some other tips for everyone else in the comments. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.